Okay, you all have sent in some questions, and today I am here to answer them and hopefully be an encouragement to you all. Hi, welcome. If you are new here, I am Rachel. I am a homeschool mom of 4 boys. I have graduated 2. We are on our 15th year. I have a 5th grader and a 10th grader this school year. And I had posted on my YouTube community tab and also on my Instagram asking for some questions. This is the first time that I have done a question answer video, and it's all about homeschooling. So I am excited, and I am going to go ahead and get started. The first question, or I should say questions, is from The Rustic Road, and she is another HOD family, she says, which is Heart of Dakota. That is a curriculum that I use for history and several other things for my boys. Okay, the first question that she has is, what lessons has the Lord taught you in homeschooling? And I think that is such a good question. And I was thinking about that, and well, first of all, I just feel, as most homeschoolers probably feel, is I just feel unworthy and I feel unqualified, and I have to remind myself that if the Lord's called you to do something, that He will enable you. And that is just something that you have to remind yourself, and the Lord has to teach you. And another thing for me, I have learned that I can't control every situation. You know, there are things that are going to happen that are out of my control. But I've learned to lean on the Lord and just know that He already knew what was going to happen. He is still in control of it. And I just need to look to Him for guidance through His Word and through prayer. And He has been so faithful in just guiding and directing, because circumstances will arise. And like I said, He already knew, He knows, He's there with you. So those are some things that I feel like I have learned and He has helped me through. Okay, the next question is, what are your favorite books to educate yourself? Okay, right now I'm reading more devotional type books actually, and one is Being a Servant of God. And I had finished up one on prayer, and then I also, in the beginning of the year, finished one that was more of a mother's devotional, and it was actually from the website Keeping the Heart by Francie Taylor. And I've actually have another book on prayer from her site that I would like to read soon, maybe when I'm finished with this. And those are the type of books I am reading now. And I do think it is important, of course, to read your Bible and just educate yourself in those areas. Helping yourself in those areas help you to be a help to your children. But on the homeschooling end, I have read so many homeschooling books over the years. A lot of times I would borrow them, I would get them from the library, and some I've had in the past and I probably handed off or given away, and which were really good. I know books from like Ruth Beechick in the beginning years when my kids were younger, those were very helpful. She did a book about the 3 R's, and one that was for 4th through 8th grade. I had that one marked up pretty good. Also, I was going to share this one with you, the Charlotte Mason Companion by Karen Andriola. And this was just really helped me understand the different ways of education, and this was a real help in the early years for my boys. I would recommend that for a new homeschooler for sure. One I read recently, and I just absolutely loved her spirit about the whole subject matter, was The Read Aloud Family, because I really just feel like I did so much of that when my boys were younger, but I really didn't know about Sarah Mackenzie too much. But I feel like she is the one that wrote Teaching from Rest, I think it is, and that's a book I borrowed from somebody, and that was really good too, but that was a while back. So lots of books on homeschooling. For me, it was also lots of books about boys, and there is Raising Real Men from Hale and Melanie Young. They had like 6 boys, and I don't know if they were planning on it, but they had a couple girls later. So this is really, really good. Their boys, I think, are all grown now. And also, this teaching boys and other children who would rather make forts all day really was such a blessing, and it's actually taught. It's a DVD, and it's taught by Andrew Pudawa from IEW, but I got this, my boys were little, and it was such a help and encouragement. So I don't know if they have this anymore. If you can get a hold of it, it would be good for anybody. So, and just also, I did a lot of study on ADHD, and my son also struggled with dysgraphia. So there was always, ways, as a mom, as a homeschool mom, you're always educating yourself because each child is different, and you've got to figure out what is best for them in their education. So, all right. The next question she also asks is, what state do you live in and what are the requirements? Okay, so we live in the state of Tennessee, and in this state, from what I understand, is you have to be under an umbrella, and that could be through the public school system, through a private school, or through like a homeschool umbrella. So we are actually under a homeschool umbrella, and most of them, if you look at the state laws themselves, follow under that requirements for school. We do pay a fee for our homeschool umbrella. We do turn in grades. We don't really have to turn in a lot of other information, but there's some umbrellas that require much more. They want to know days and curriculum you use and all those kind of things. Ours is pretty simple. We don't even have to do testing. So it works well for us, and for in the high school years, we actually will turn in the grades. They will do the transcripts for us, and you can call and get help and guidance and any questions you might have about high school, and they also will do a diploma. So that is how it works for us. All right, another question is from ES. During the high school years, how independent are your kids with their work versus how much are you sitting beside them, guiding or teaching? Thanks. Okay. All my boys are pretty similar as they enter the high school years. Okay, so last year, my 10th grader now is in 9th grade, and we did a little bit more together. There was definitely a little bit more teaching. He was struggling with Algebra 1, and like he did world religion. That was sort of new to us. I had not done that with the other boys, so we did that together, just sort of trying to help him see the workload, see what was expected of him. But this school year, and I feel like this was probably true with my other boys, they were pretty independent on the work. Now, we had to meet together, we had to talk about schedules, we had to talk about what was expected, and I might have to go over things when you're talking about teaching. I don't think I literally taught the subject, but I was there to help. Like if they had a question, we could go over it, that type of thing. So, but this school year, he's doing well with his math, and I'm not so much. Maybe at the beginning of the year, there was some questions. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Now, I will say with his history and his government, like if he's having an overwhelming day, and that just happens when you're in high school, that I'll be like, hey, is there something we can read together, or do you want me to read with you today? And that actually works out good because it gives me an idea of where he's at in his history. But also I think it's good for a high schooler, for someone to know what they're learning about, and it gives them someone to discuss it with. So I actually enjoy it, and I think he does too. So I hope that answered your question. So by now, they're pretty independent. I don't know what next year will be like. I know for my other two, by the time they were in 11th and 12th, it was just, making sure they knew where they were, and I was checking to make sure they were getting it done. All right. So the next question is from Anna Raponi, and she says, hello, could you show us how you did transcripts for your graduate children? Thank you. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, under our umbrella, they actually do the transcripts for us. Now, in my last high school video, and I will link that below, I did talk about how I listened to, when my oldest was in 8th grade, that I went through a lot of webinars and searched out Lee Benz over at the Homescholar, and that's really what she specializes in. She graduated her 2 boys years ago, and she keeps up with what is going on and what is going on in the colleges and what is needed. So I listen to a lot of her webinars, have read a lot of her books. I just really enjoy her sweet spirit about things. She was an encouragement and really a good help. But then I found out I didn't need to do transcripts, so I didn't need that. Now, if you really need that, she has something that you can pay a fee for, and she will really help you through that. So I highly suggest her, and I will link that below. All right, my next question is by Livy Lou. What is one thing you are doing differently with your younger two boys than you did with your already graduated older boys? Okay, I'm definitely more relaxed, for sure. And let me explain probably a little bit why. I think for one reason, you've graduated too, you sort of know what the end looks like. So that helps. Sort of know you're not as nervous, you're not feeling so much pressure. Now, you do feel it because each child is different and they each have different goals. But when my older boys were little, my second one had ADHD tendencies, he had dysgraphia, he was a struggling learner. And, we were just all going through that with him. So that was a lot of learning time for me, figuring all that out, because that was all new to me. I kept a stricter schedule, especially with that one child. But also my oldest was, he was more motivated. You gave him something to do and he would get it done when he was younger. So that was very helpful. And I want to encourage you, someone told me years ago that the Lord puts your children in the order that he knows best. And not just for your sake, but for their sakes and all that they will learn because of that. So that encouraged me. The two oldest, the one is at work and one is in school right now. So they're not here, and that's really allowed me some more extra time with my third one that, you're so busy trying to get the others through high school. So I have enjoyed that and a little bit more laid back. He gets along great with his little brother, and most of the time they'll go outside, play basketball, play spike ball. And my other boys, they all played, they all got along. But it was just a more difficult journey because, when you have one that is a struggling learner, and you just have to give a little bit more time and energy to that. So, all right. I'm going to go on to the next question, and it is from Calm in the Chaos. And she asks, what should I be thinking about in planning out high school? Okay, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, I've done some high school videos, and I will go ahead and link those below. But I don't know if I've mentioned a lot about this thought, but just the communication. As my boys are coming into high school, I remember doing this with my 10th grader now, like last year, and even at the beginning of this school year, we talked about it again, but just communicating, helping them understand, requirements and credits. And they don't really know, at least mine didn't really know what all that entailed. So just sitting down, giving them the layout as you're looking at it, explaining it to them, just that communication, so they have a little idea of what is expected of them in the next 4 years in order to graduate. So, because they want to know too, they want to understand, and of course they want to be a part of making the decisions. So just keeping that communication open. Also, the other thing would be planning ahead. You think, okay, we have through 12th grade, but something to think about, just because I have experienced this, is that, they might hit 11th, 12th grade and want to work and have their own interest and all of that. You might have it all planned out, but things may turn out a little differently than you expect. So planning ahead, getting as much done as early as possible, but on the other hand, I don't like to overload either. So it's just finding that balance in the early years. And if they can do anything in 8th grade, I think only one of my boys did some credits in 8th grade, and that was a science and a math. So it's not absolutely necessary. And every semester, just evaluating where you're at, where they're at, what their goals are. And then also keeping the relationship, and I know I've talked about this so many times, but just keeping your relationship with them through this journey I know I'm the type that can have high expectations. So I really just need to come back to reality, see what's really required, find out what their interests are, and sort of follow that a little bit. So, okay. I hope that was helpful. All right. Tara Malin says, what books have your boys enjoyed? Any that made an impact for the better and that they have or plan to reread? Okay, so we have reread a lot of books as a family, more so when they were younger. And I actually asked one of my boys, do you have any books? I just flat out asked him, and that was actually one of my graduates. Now, he pointed out a lot of books that he read and he remembers and he liked, but he can't say, well, life-changing. So, but I feel like a lot of the books we read make an impact on their life, because I think it's important to give them true stories of people that have overcome situations, people that are missionaries or in the service of the Lord, about men who are willing to work, and not just for themselves but also for others. So just finding good quality character books, and that'll be different from when they're younger to they're older. And I'm not really sure on the age that you are asking for. I almost feel like I could do a separate video on that. And I have done some videos on books for boys, but I don't know if I've actually done one on ones that we have read and reread and just feel like we all know the stories. So maybe I will do that in the future. Again, I can't really say that any of them were life-changing, but I do know we read a lot of books that were very influential in character qualities. So, all right. Megan H. asks, I'm curious about HOD, which is Heart of Dakota again. Curriculum, specifically Creation to Christ, for my upcoming 6th grade daughter. She loves to read, and the book selection looks amazing. Also, I'm needing something she can do mostly independently, so she can be working with the younger siblings. And as much as she loves the setup, it looks like a lot. Okay, I'm concerned it would overwhelm her and take the joy out of learning away. Have you ever experienced this with your kids? Do you and your kids enjoy it? Okay. Here is a suggestion when you have older kids and younger ones, and you want to help that older child become more independent. Give you time to work with the little ones. So I'm going to give you this suggestion, and it really can be used for any curriculum. It does not have to be Heart of Dakota. So my suggestion would be to start the older one off at least a week, if 2 if possible, before you start school with the other kids. You really want your older child to be confident in the curriculum itself, in the directions that you have given them, knowing the layout, what you expect of them, and maybe even give yourself time to do some of it with them, just to help them through it, and also helping them get them settled in maybe a routine of what subjects would be best to start out with. So that would sort of give you time to help them through that, especially if it is new. You might want a couple weeks. If it's not, you're just moving on with the same curriculum the next school year, you might just need a week. So I feel like that is very helpful. With my boys, I feel like I've done that, maybe not 2 weeks ahead of time, but I've also not started all the subjects at one time. But when you have little ones, you really want to get that oldest one moving along before you start, is how I feel. And also with Heart of Dakota, keep in mind with some people, they choose a curriculum and they have to do it all or there's no point in doing it. Or you have people that is like me and you pick a curriculum and you're going to make it work for you. So that is how I am, and I feel like that is sort of how you have to look at Heart of Dakota, because it is full of wonderful things, every box you want to do. But I just know it's not reality for our family. So we are doing Creation to Christ this school year. We are not doing the poetry and art box. We're not doing the history project. We'll do it every once in a while if it's in the notebook. And I feel like there's another box or two we are not doing. Of course, we are doing our own math and our own language arts. So, saying that, I would just focus on the core subjects. Unless you feel like your daughter, I mean, if she's in 6th grade, she might be ready for it all. She might enjoy the poetry and art. I would, maybe see how it goes the first week. But at the same time, and she could start out doing it all, but if you start to feel overwhelmed, and you don't want her to get discouraged, you just need to kindly say, okay, you know what, let's not worry about this box this week. Let's just get this reading done. And of course, your core subjects, math and language arts, and to just let her move on from there. So I hope that is helpful. We are not using the writing curriculum in there either. My son's only in 5th grade. I almost don't know if it would have to be stressed in 6th grade because there's so much written narration. And also for the science, sometimes we will answer orally. So just want to give you those thoughts. And yes, we have loved the curriculum. Creation to Christ, this is our, I think, 3rd time. So I was like, and it's been a while, but I was thinking ancient history, is this going to go okay? Because we did preparing last year, and quite a bit of the first half is a lot of that, but it's very different. It's very good, and we have both really enjoyed it. So, all right. I hope that was helpful. All right. And the last question is by Joyful Little Arrow 81. What has worked for you in the past as far as routine with kiddos, separate guides? This year I will have 2 in different guides and a preschooler. Nervous about getting overwhelmed and burnt out too quickly. Okay, so really that answer is a little bit similar to what I just said about, picking and choosing what you could actually get done. What is important to you in this curriculum? Now, for us, it's the history, it's the living books. Just the choices are wonderful, and that is one reason we pick Heart of Dakota. And that can fall under the history and the science, but depending on the age, science isn't always my priority in the very early years. It could just be you sit down and do it as a read aloud or, read it over lunch. And also, we did not do all the early guides. I did the preschool guide with my youngest, and that was just an early hour in the morning because he got up early, but we really don't start till preparing. So I'm not sure what guides you're talking about. I do know that as you get into preparing, it's just we've never been able to do it all. We've had to let some things go in our family and our situation, and every family is different. So I wanted to share that thought with you. So I hope that is helpful. I don't want to discourage you because, like I said, we are using it. We love it. We love the choices of the books. We love the teacher's notes and the guidance that she gives and how it all correlates back to the Bible and very Christian worldview. We love living books. We have tried texty type books, and I just feel like we're always like, ugh. It's just really hard to read. It's really hard to keep their attention. But if I have in Heart of Dakota with their living books, it's so much easier. So, and they enjoy it and they get so much more out of it. I appreciate the opportunity to do this, and I hope it was encouraging and helpful, and maybe I'll do it again in the future. But I appreciate you all watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you again.